Welcome back, everyone. It's Vet with another episode of Quicken the Silence. We're here to jump right back into some more D&D quandaries. Sort of. Some of these general concepts can be applied to 5e as well, but naturally there would be some changes between the two, as there are some minor differences. Either way, I'm here to talk about one of my favorite things to do. Hit stuff. A lot. So for those of you diving into Baldur's Gate 3, whether it be your first or your fifth playthrough, I'll talk about 4 team comps that crack the skulls of the foolhardy and disintegrate the illithid. Right. Yes, keeping it quick. Off to it then. First team member, we have a good old barbarian. In-game, you'll find a fiery hot barbarian companion who can be recruited into your ranks, but a barbarian hireling can be found present if the origin character doesn't pan out. Monster. At level 12, 10 levels of barbarian and 2 levels of fighter gives her a great deal of power as well as a little bit of an advantage with her favorite weapons and an extra action. You're most likely raging in combat, and the fighter can give you some specific enhancements which allow the barbarian to go just a little bit farther with their major abilities. Alternatively, 2 levels in rogue can allow you to cover some serious ground without having to sacrifice attacking that turn. I recommend really any of the barbarian paths, but mostly wild magic for this team comp. I'll explain that in a little bit. Since we don't get a fighter archetype in this build, sad as I'm about that, I'll say that if you choose to put 3 or 4 levels into fighter, Battlemaster can still be quite effective alongside that champion fighter for more critical hits. That's the first member written up. For member number 2, a rogue monk combo can prove to be incredibly deadly. I don't see Asterion as much of a hidden dragon kind of fellow, but a little bit of discipline wouldn't hurt this thirsty elf. I sink 7 levels into rogue, 5 into monk. We can potentially dodge fireballs, save our key points, and still use dash as a bonus action among other actions, and the sneak attack damage is real nice when you pair it up with 4 attacks in one turn. If we take the thief archetype, we get an extra bonus action, which means we can use flurry of blows to give us 4 attacks total alongside the 2 that we get from our attack action. As for the monk, Way of Open Hand seemed a solid choice, but Shadow Monk would work really well for a solid ambush. All in all, a skilled fighter with a solid tool set. And then our third party member, a war cleric. Yes, I know it's not a super cool, mega interesting multi-class, but I find in my playthroughs that healing is hard to pass up. For Shadowheart, you'll have to respec her levels and go into the ward cleric domain instead of trickery, but personally, I just made a custom character cleric for this one, so. We dated in our first playthrough, but now I need a break. As I was saying though, having as much healing as I can get for the stupid decisions I make along the journey is hard for me to pass up, man. But as a war cleric, you can use your bonus action to attack when you attack on your turn, so if no one needs any healing or buffs, your cleric is in the midst of battle as well, smashing heads with a warhammer or going sword and board. You want as much wisdom as you can sink into them and as much strength or dexterity as you're willing to give yourself for your martial attacks. However, I wouldn't stress about that too much, as there are other properties the war cleric has that can give you a plus 10 to hit, or the same bonus for your allies if you prefer. Thanks to your war cleric, your martially focused party will be able to crack through adamantine and arcane armor alike. You also gain proficiency with heavy armor and martial weapons, which might mean you'll clink and clank like a full-plate paladin, but it will be worth having in the face of 24 enemies or more. And now for our final character, an evocation wizard. Thanks to our barbarian, monk, and possibly even the cleric, we have an intimidating martial presence and practically unbreakable frontline. With an evocation wizard, we can light up the battlefield without having to worry about our party being caught up in the fireballs, and keep the damage coming just a little longer throughout your day of adventuring for taking a wild magic barbarian with you. This barbarian path allows you to restore your party's missing spell slots. There is a limit to this, and I think it's level 3 spells, that being with the multi-class I mentioned. Those spell slots will go either to your cleric or your wizard, whoever needs them more. Though the wizard can recover some used spell slots throughout the day, so I'd say your cleric might get most of them after a bloody battle or two. You could also sink a couple of levels into Sorcerer, Storm Sorcerer. You can give yourself a flying speed as a bonus action after casting a leveled spell on your turn. Pretty good. You have some meta magic to work there too, so, it's an interesting idea. Ultimately, that is one team comp that has only let me down as many times as the dice have. We can manufacture a lot of actions in a turn, deal lots of damage, and close whatever gaps we need to thanks to a little bit of brain to go with our brawn. After all, a team of marshals would still be pretty badass, but I would hope for your sake your bag is practically leaking the best potions money and alchemy can provide you. But that's where I'll leave things for today. Thank you for tuning in for another quick episode. In the meantime, I'm gonna go outside and catch some autumn sun rays. I've been cooped up in here, merely rocking my way through the second playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3, and my fingers yearn for freedom. Take care, folks.